We all know that DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And we all know what diversity, equity, and inclusion means, right? We also know that racist people on the right have taken DEI and changed its meaning to DEI didn't earn it, right? So keeping in the mindset of what the racist on the right has made DEI out to be, didn't earn it. We all know that Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is the epitome of DEI, right? We know he wasn't even a full-time regular host of a show over on Fox News. He was a part-time weekend host over on Fox News, a co-host. So to put this man in such an important position, there is no way that we could have expected for the Department of Defense to run smoothly. There is no way that this man being in charge of our defense and its security should have anyone feeling safe and secure in this country, correct? Not only is Pete Hegseth incompetent and is ill-equipped to run the Department of Defense, he's also been accused of being a drunk. He's also been accused of being abusive towards women by his own mother. His own mother reamed him out in a text. All of that came out, right? I mean, just look at one of his very first big meetings out in Brussels. This is what he did throughout the 30-minute press conference in Brussels.
U.S. press, we're going to take 2 from the U.S., we'll take 2 from international.
That's drink number 1.
Depending on the...
You have focused on what Ukraine is giving up.
Drink number 2.
What concessions will Putin be asked to make?
Well, that's... Questions, please.
Drink
The first one
number 3.
regarding the new defense investment pledge. When you and President Trump speak about rate...
With the U.S. outlet.
Drink number 4.
What we're going to take from the U.S. is Logan Rattick from Newsmax, please.
And drink number
5.
5.
The Japanese TV station. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask about China.
The press conference / meeting in Brussels, you can find it over there on the YT. Yeah, that press conference was 32 minutes long, I believe, and he took 5 sips of whatever that drink was. It is my opinion that it wasn't water. It's my opinion that it wasn't apple juice. Yeah, it was something a little bit stronger than that. So when you put an incompetent, inept, and alleged drunk into leadership positions over at the Department of Defense, yeah, this should not surprise you. Yesterday, and it's still being talked about today, how Pete Hegseth and several other members of Donald Trump's administration were in a group chat over on Signal planning war. And their dumb asses put Jeffrey Goldberg in the chat. Jeffrey Goldberg is a reporter. There was no reason for him to be in this chat. When I first heard about the story, I was like, what was the reason? Why would they put a reporter in the chat? What's behind this? There has to be something more behind this. And Jeff Goldberg did what any reporter would do. He wrote about the story and he presented the story to the public and he provided receipts. In that article that he wrote, he specifically mentioned that he didn't include all of the receipts because, yeah, it would truly expose the defenses of the United States. Here's some of what he put in the article. You can pause to read that. You can pause to read that. You can pause to read that. And you can pause to read that. Now, of course, news media has caught up with Pete Hegseth, and of course, they asked him about this story, and he comes back with all of the gaslighting and the buzzwords. Said that the reporter was deceitful, attacked his credibility, basically calling the story fake news, but never really answers the question. However, the reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg, has responded to what Pete Hegseth had to say. And here's a snippet.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
I'm going to be responsible here and not disclose the things that I read and saw. I will describe them to you. The specific time of a future attack, specific targets, including human targets, meant to be killed in that attack, weapon systems, even weather reports, that the government is I don't know why Hegseth was sharing it with everybody. I mean, the precise detail of, and then a long section on sequencing. This is going to happen, then that is going to happen. After that happens, this happens, then that happens, and then we go and find out if it worked. I mean, he can say that it wasn't a war plan, but it was a minute by minute accounting of what was about to happen, organized by CENTCOM, Central Command, which is the military oversight group of the Middle East, the broader Middle East. This is their plan, and he was taking their plan and sharing it with a bunch of civilian leaders. It's interesting because as I'm reading it at 11:44 a.m. on Saturday morning, the 15th, seeing that the Houthis are not going to know about this for another couple hours.
And you know about it.
Well, and I know about it, and I'm thinking to myself, honestly, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm glad that Mike Waltz didn't invite a Houthi into the group or a Russian spy or an adversary of the United States. But put that aside. I'm reading this and I'm wondering, not only why am I reading this, but why would the Secretary of the Treasury need to know the precise attack sequence of this upcoming operation? Again, I don't want to talk about weapon systems, packages, targets in any specificity because, I'm trying to be, I want to be a responsible person, and I'm more interested in the decision making anyway than I am in the actual technical details of it. But the whole thing is just very flummoxing to me because I haven't seen this kind of unserious behavior before. And, and the Secretary of Defense, all due respect, in that presentation seems like a person who's unserious and is trying to deflect from the fact that he participated in a conversation on an unclassified commercial messaging app that he probably shouldn't have participated.
And that app, the Signal app, is free for anybody to use. Anybody can get on Signal. When I went over to check out the Signal app just to talk about this, I was like, oh, this is a lot like WhatsApp. Anybody can get on this app. Anybody. And so being that anybody can get on this app, I'm still asking the question, why? Why use Signal? And if anybody can get on the app, was this intentional? And if it was intentional, why? And when I heard Jeffrey Goldberg mention a Russian operative could have been in on the group chat, I was like, okay. And then I came across this. There's this Olga lady whose tweet has gone viral. She put this tweet out. So I put a quick timeline on the insane Signal classified chat, and sure enough, it looks like Kremlin asset Witkoff was in Moscow when he was added to the Houthi chat. I checked Russian media and he left on 3/14 Friday morning, Moscow time. Meanwhile, the chat was set up on Thursday. Here's a closer look at those screenshots that she has in her tweet. You can translate this through ChatGPT or over on the Google Translate. She also added this to her tweet. You can pause to read. And then she added this. You can pause to read. And who is Olga? She's just not another troll out there on social media. She's got some credentials behind her. She does this stuff for a living. So if you ask me, setting up that group chat in Signal was intentional. I believe it wasn't intentional to add in Jeffrey Goldberg. It was just a gift from the gods. Who they really intended to add was the Russian asset, the Kremlin asset, the Witkoff guy. They wanted him in on the conversation. And they went by way of Signal because it's not heavily encrypted like other means that serious individuals who work in the Department of Defense that they would use. Didn't earn it. People who didn't earn it, people who do not have the experience, the education, or the background or the history to do these types of things, those are the people that didn't earn it. And when they didn't earn it, this is the type of stuff that happens. I found this little post interesting. The part that people are missing is that they're doing official communications on Signal to avoid those communications from being retained. There are Project 2025 training videos that specifically recommend this type of thing as a way to avoid subpoenas. Our government is using third-party software to discuss OPSEC, no foreign, and top secret levels of communications in avenues that do not retain data. They can stage a total takeover of the U.S. and there will be no evidence through any official channels. They don't want a paper trail. They don't want anybody to be able to back into what it is that they did. They want no evidence. They want no receipts when they do the dirty shit that they do. It just so happens in this moment, they got caught. Twofold. They wanted Russia in on what was going on, and they didn't want any evidence to be left behind in doing and preparing what it is that they are doing and preparing for. Like I said, it's just the gods who blessed Jeffrey Goldberg, who then in turn educated us. And shout out to Jeffrey Goldberg, who immediately wrote this story and put it out and didn't wait to put it out 5 years from now in a book so he could profit off of it. And just to think, this man, Pete Hegseth, did a press conference with Donald Trump the other day. And during that press conference, he tried to demean Joe Biden's administration by calling them fools.
For generations to come. Mr. President, this is a gift to my kids and your kids, to my grandkids and your grandkids. This is a historic investment in the American military, in the American industrial base, in American industry that will help revive the warrior ethos inside our military, which we're doing, rebuild our military, which the previous administration did not do, by the way, Mr. President. They paused this program, and we're prepared to potentially scrap it. We know this is cheaper, longer range, and more stealthy. President Trump said we're reviving it, and we're doing it. And then we are also going to reestablish deterrence. Under the previous administration, we looked like fools. Not anymore.
Speaking of looking like fools, Donald Trump also did a press conference on yesterday where he was asked about this breach, and he had no clue. He didn't know anything about it.
To the story, The Atlantic, that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Right.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first.
The Trump administration is nothing but a bunch of clowns. Elections have consequences. You elect a clown, expect a fucking circus.